All right, Bannock County Commissioners are in session, and it is Monday, July 27th. Crazy. We're here today to go over the final changes, not the final, but the kind of the semi-last discussion about the clerk's recommendation. And so we'll just start from there. Commissioner Bullock, do you have anything you want to discuss from the last week? Any changes, suggestions?
For next year's,
Yes.
I think the numbers that I went through there, it seemed like everything was there that, that I had seen. So at this point, unless something pops up, I think I'm okay with what I've got there.
Commissioner Moser, you had a few this morning?
Yeah, because we've had conversations about travel and stuff like that, I'd like to move the commissioners to 5,000 instead of 4,000.
So on each of the education lines to be, or travel. lines
Travel, and
to
then
be
the
clear.
education line, just to 2,000
Okay,
on them. And then I wasn't sure with District 3, the way it's, we move money from, gas or fuel to right into travel. I don't know if it matters any, the difference, but
if you guys cut fuel completely out, the only problem I foresee with that is your staff travels and uses the vehicle.
that's what I'm asking here. I think that we ought to leave them the same.
Let me,
I think that there ought to be 750 for fuel and 5,000 for travel.
now you do have fuel in county operations, so if we just don't pay for Christie's fuel and we just, for the pooled vehicles, you just throw it out of the county operations, you shouldn't need the fuel line in the commission budget. And then we could just pay, nope, you're still gonna need fuel for you guys.
And that's what I thought. Honestly,
So
I thought
essentially-
if we,
And I think,
Your travel will be covered in two different line items, because your fuel will be paid out of fuel if you're driving a county vehicle, not allocated to a specific commissioner.
yeah, it depends on what you're trying to gather. I mean, travel is travel. It's just if we want to capture just the fuel itself, I think we should leave the fuel line in there.
Okay, and that was taken
I moved
out,
that to 750.
that was taken out by your staff. your
Yeah, and
recommendation.
Yeah.
and I'm just looking at it
Okay.
now, and I'm going,
So throw that
no,
to
I don't
750?
really. I like the commissioners to be the same. I like, keep the fuel line
Wait.
750 for each of us, go to 5,000 on travel and 2,000 on education.
Okay, your fuel, you currently have fuel in all line items except for District 3. That one was removed in your department request because I'm assuming the thought was that individual would take their own vehicle and be paid through mileage. You're saying you want to keep fuel in there as a just in case.
I'm saying I want to keep all commissioners the same at 750.
Perfect, okay.
And that's a management thing there too.
But
Then
then,
put 5,000 on each commissioner for travel,
okay,
and then 2,000, go up to $500 on education.
okay, perfect.
And just for my education, if we take our own vehicle and claim mileage that way, does that not come out of fuel, or
No.
that just comes?
That
out?
is travel. That is travel. Because
I
fuel
think-
is specifically gas pump fuel.
Which
Or refill.
I think if we stay consistent that way, it'll be a whole lot easier to manage.
Okay.
That's as I was going through there.
1, 2, 3. Okay, would you like to cover that through where? All property taxes are used, so do you want to just cover that through reserves or?
And that's where I come into this other question, is with the coroner
Oh,
for autopsies.
uh-huh,
He put down $100,000 and you went up to 110.
right. And that was based on knowing we were over, so that's been absorbed through balancing the budget.
And so that's where I'm saying that I don't know if we need all the autopsies. that we're
Okay,
doing.
so do you want me to reduce that?
Well, and that's where I'm looking at, there's $10,000 right there
Right,
in funds that come out of tax dollars, that, as I'm balancing
okay,
things out. I'm just, this is things that are going through my head as I'm going
But he's
through-
probably gonna be, the reason we did that is he's probably gonna be over budget this year.
Here it
And
is.
so, yeah, and so we gave him more money. And there are some things where his hands are tied on those autopsies, whether
Well,
there's some requirements that he's following.
we've gone from 43,000 in 25. Is that, no, that was 6 months, or 25. But his autopsy budget a couple of years back was around $50,000. And then we give him $40,000 added. And now we're adding another, I mean,
We did come up with that $10,000 by cutting his education line. So he had requested 14,000, we reduced that by 10,000 and threw that in his autopsies.
okay, that's the,
So we offset those, by cutting operational budgets.
okay. That's why we're having these
Yeah,
discussions.
yeah, we went, hey,
Figure
what's
out.
mandatory and what's not? And we cut the discretionary of travel and put it in mandatory of autopsies.
I agree with the educational, that was
Yeah.
a little,
And honestly, your guys' budget only went up, those few changes you gave me, it's only $4,500 if I did my quick math right.
Yeah.
yeah.
So, that could be covered through, I mean, we can just take it from, if we don't find any cuts anywhere, we can take those from one-time, monies.
And then, as I was leaving, Christie talked about Shanda had something on there. I didn't.
$495 for her certificate of excellence that she wanted to.
Okay, would you like
Apply
to
for
add that back in?
Yeah, she asked that, and then Emma had an email this morning, I don't know if you had a chance to see that or not. Emma's was asking,
She must just sent that to you.
no, it was to Christie, and
Oh.
I think I might have just been CC'd on it, but she was requesting 3,000 for travel and her professional services. She requested 7,000.
So we can't go by, to be clear, I need line items, because when she came in
Line
for her
item.
department request, she changed her recommendation, and so I've only got the original department request, I don't have the,
So it's 4,400 if I'm looking at her line item correctly. That was the PIO travel.
okay, we took that, she had requested 3,000, we put it at 2,000 based on usage,
Yeah,
because she'd only spent 1,700.
correct. And then she's got one trip this year for FEMA that she's looking at in Boise, peer training. That's why she put it
Okay.
back at
So would the
3,000.
board like that back at 3,000?
I'm good with that, but,
I need a vote of at least two.
That's fine.
I'm good.
and then line 67, 300, her professional services. She said she requested 7,000 to cover some sponsorship for the Enviro Fair and 1,000 for complex and brochure flyers, but only 5,000 was budgeted in the recommendation. So she just wants to clarify that that's what the commission wants, or,
That says it's just a safety app for that line item. Is it 673 or is it,
67300 is what she has in her email.
okay. These notes got a little fuzzy.
It's kind of small writing.
So would the board like that back to 6,000?
So we're looking at 67,300 professional services.
Yes. That was $1,000 sponsorship for the Enviro Fair and $1,000 for events complex brochures and flyers is what she has on the email.
Those are things we're currently doing already, aren't they?
The Enviro Fair this year we did not, in previous years we have,
Okay, because we've always done the environmental fair.
correct. We did not do it this year, Ernie didn't want to do it this year, if I remember right.
I thought we did it. I says, we're not doing it anymore.
The land, because the landfill's there. Landfill and mosquito are always there.
Yeah,
And I think,
and then.
I can't remember if emergency
I
management.
think our emergency management's been there.
So I don't believe there has been a missed year, but, I mean, if she needs the 6,000, just, I need the board to say yes.
I'm okay with it, but
And I just want to remind everybody, we need to find some cuts to cover increases we take unless they're one-time changes or minimal changes that we can use one-time funds for.
So was the one that I told her I didn't like was the Pocatello magazine, that I didn't feel like the Chamber magazine, that
right.
didn't feel like we got anything out of.
Then if I'm reading that's correct, that's not what these are. That's the ones, the Enviro Fair. I'm not sure what she's talking about for the complex buyers, brochures and flyers.
So there is, and again, my notes are not necessarily lining up because I do see a line that says, annual marketing expenses, Kind Community, Chamber Magazine, and random stuff that comes up throughout the year. Plus 1,000 increase for Enviro Fair sponsorship, 1,000 for brochure for events complex, 1,000 for new cards for the Alert Sense public safety app. So all of those things are within this $5,000.
Is there any funds on the event side that could cover those brochures and things that would be more specific into their budget?
I would say, well, we've had them in there in the past, but I think it was a little conflicting as to who was ordering them and then paying for them and obligating another department's budget. And so I believe all of that was moved into Emma's budget so that she could have control over what she did and the costs. The other thing is where we subsidized both of those funds this year, I'm going to say no, they do not have any discretionary spending.
Okay, I'm just curious of when, I assume that used to be there and then she's pulled it underneath that umbrella.
Yes,
See.
and I think it was a little difficult for Scott to have it in his budget, not knowing what the cost was gonna be, and then he thinks it's, say, this much, and it comes in higher. Then he has to find cuts within his budget for someone else's
Okay,
decisions.
so your recommendation is 5,000 and she's asked for 6?
The clerk's recommendation is 5,000, and she's asking for 6,
And,
yes.
and we base that based on the actual numbers that she gave us for what things cost. We gave, so she should be able to cover those things with the $5,000. But then she's asking for fluff to be built in for whatever, and I just don't like that. So if you, and I get that, especially in that type of a job, you don't know what might come up. But I would like specifically to know what's going to be happening. I think the public needs to know what that money is budgeted for.
I'm
Rather than
okay
fluff.
if we move her travel to $3,000, just to leave that flat. The message that I just got from Christie, it doesn't have the other on it.
Okay.
It just has the travel, it has the 495 and then the 5,000 and the 2,000s that we talked about in our end of it. So that's the message I just got back. So it doesn't have this other end. Everybody good with that, or what do you want?
I'm okay.
So you're saying then you want to leave that at 5,000 there then?
Yeah.
So we're on the same page?
Leave it there and go ahead and move her travel
To 3.
to 3, and that'd take care of Emma, and then the other one, take care of Shanda, the 495.
Okay.
And then the commissioners.
Okay,
I'm good with that. If you needed a.
I got a
Three.
consensus, that's what I need.
And then, is there anything else from you, Ernie?
No.
Well, before we, I'm still a little bit unsure on the coroner's autopsies. Because it does that large amount. What I would like to see, and is there a priority schedule that basically said, okay, we don't have an unlimited budget. In fact, I understand in reading that their Pocatello Police has got another autopsy in the last couple of days because of another lady. And I know there are circumstances, but I would love to say, here's the priority list for our coroner's department of what has to go, what could go, or maybe just to keep that budget under control. And I did have that visit with both the sheriff and the prosecutor. And as far as I remember that conversation, we have not there has not been any action on our sheriffs or whatever. So all of our autopsies that go over there are coming back clean. So is our decision tree on this side where do we really need this autopsy, or is it just, and maybe we need to help that decision tree for that coroner's department that say, we can't just have unlimited autopsies. Somehow it has, now whether we have Ada give us some guidelines there or whatever, but, and I know we've had that discussion, but I'm a little unclear on the authority to say, yep, we need this autopsy.
So Tori is coming in tomorrow
And that's
to talk about his budget.
to that
If
point.
one of the commissioners would maybe reach out to him, and then he could be prepared to maybe talk about that tomorrow. And then at that time, if we need to change this, we potentially could, either up, down, or leave it. But that could be a discussion that you have. I don't know if any of those discussions might need to be had in executive session.
That one probably wouldn't.
That one,
So,
it could be, I think.
and I don't know what Idaho code section that would fall under, but if possibly we could prep that meeting for that and maybe amend the agenda to include that. And then if we need to go into executive, he could talk a little bit better about.
And if we're trying to justify these costs, that would help me and maybe help that department that said, okay, if it's just drug related, does that meet the criteria of an automatic autopsy? I understand some of the rules of unattended, but that's why we have a coroner who is trained to recognize those cases. I just think we need to be real careful not to just keep adding that limit on there without some sort of guidelines for him and for us as far as budgeting. Maybe we are wrong. I don't know, but I think I would love to have that discussion.
When we was talking about forensic, every county had a different criteria.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. I mean, Oneida County, they said, we're not even doing any autopsies. I mean, basically. I mean, so we want to follow, some type of guidelines. I don't think there is a state statute guideline.
There is no guideline. It is up to the coroner's discretion.
But we could help him
But
with the
Bingham
budget.
County had the same problem discussion between the commissioners and their coroner. So I think it's a discussion that needs to happen.
So I think if we could reach out, one of us or whatever, and just prep him on that discussion. I mean, it doesn't need to be a great big, but I think we need to start that dialogue to help us with this budget. So that we understand what
Would
we're.
one of you want to reach out to him, or do you want me to reach out to him? Either way is fine.
I can reach out to him, but to me, this is a little bit of an overreach on our part, because do we tell Kyle which roads he should or shouldn't pave? Do we tell Anita how many homes she should or should not assess every year? I mean, where do we gain the authority or the understanding to say,
Right here.
Tori,
Right here in budget, because we've doubled, in the years that I've been here, we've doubled the cost. So there should be a justification.
and his justification is, we need to, because to track overdose deaths, to do this for the families that he serves. I mean, I know that's gonna be his answer, is it's for the people that we serve. And so,
But
again,
when it comes to budget though,
I
that's
understand
our
the budget.
responsibility.
I understand the budget, but how are we gonna say, Tori, you shouldn't autopsy these deaths?
I'd just like to make sure he has a policy.
Then maybe we don't build a new building for $950,000.
I don't know.
You know, that's all I'm saying is we're
just-
reviewing budget, and I just see that there was $100,000 request, $110,000 was offered in this budget, but I know that we went from $40,000 a year up to,
I don't disagree with
so
that.
that's what I'm questioning.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree.
I just think for all of our benefit, it would be nice to have a criteria so he can defend that and so can we. if somebody comes and asks me, okay, why are you budgeting this, or why did you do that? I don't have, I guess I'm a little unsure on what statute there is, or what state priorities are. For my benefit, I'd love to have a small discussion on that,
There isn't a state statute that governs it. There is no state priority.
so.
So
So is it,
I've been down this road.
so at this point,
Yes, we have.
so it's under the coroner's discretion? Is that what we're saying?
100%.
But I would love to have him say, this is how I go through this process. It just allows him to report on that, and I
Fantastic.
haven't heard that.
I think that's a great idea.
You know, say, you report on how you make those decisions and choices and how you're gonna defend it, and it helps us make that decision. I just think, just like any other department, we expect accountability from each one of those, whether it's the sheriff, whether it's any other one. They need to stay consistent as well, too. So,
I don't,
anyway, if we can do that, so.
don't disagree with
It's
that.
more of a friendly invite rather than, we're not calling anybody the principal's office, but I just think for our,
Kind of felt like it.
well, it may not have sounded like that when it came out, but I would love to hear the criteria. I'd love to hear his priority, just like I would do the same thing with Kyle. Which roads do you chip and seal? So if we're going down that road,
Any line item that keeps increasing, I think we have an obligation to know that.
And I don't disagree with that.
yeah. So are you gonna reach out to him and
Yeah, I'll
invite
call-
him
call
to
him.
that then? So,
Yeah, I'll call him.
What do you have?
sorry, I detracted back away into that, but I want to get that off my plate or off my chest, whichever is the more bare.
My question comes from the ambulance district. I went to the interviews for the fire chief, and that was one of the, in talking with Chief Grow afterwards, he was asking about getting the 2 ambulances where we only talked about doing 1. And he brought up the point where the ambulances are 2 years out, and there is no penalty for canceling. So he asked about, can we put it in, knowing that we're looking 2 years out for actually writing the check for it? And I said, I don't know, I will ask that question. So I pose that to the board.
Well, I guess my question of it is, we're actually budgeting for this year. That's what this whole budget is.
Correct.
But can we somewhere say, fine, we need to authorize the order of one that's 2 years out and not have that reflected in the budget? I guess I'm asking that budgeting, how do we do transparency that knowing that we probably do need to order a second one, even though it's not in this, so what are we trying to,
If you're gonna order 2, we need to budget 2.
so that's
Just
the
in
hard
case
part of
it
it.
shows up
So,
in September of next year. So if the board would like that added, we,
That was their question, and where they're 2 years out on them, I thought it was worth a discussion to see.
So
do you wanna give your rationale?
we talked about reserves on all this. And what kind of reserves do we have in the ambulance?
They've got reserves, they could cover another ambulance. If we wanted to add that back to 900,000 versus 450.
so what we would say is, we'll budget for it because of reserves, and probably in the back of mind, knowing we're not gonna use those. But the reserves will actually put it into the budget, so it's planning.
And when we put this together and Christy and I were talking about it, I just felt that because they're 2 years out, if we give them one and they start ordering it, really, what's the difference other than drawing their reserves down? But I don't like budgeting for years in advance. This is, like you said, this is next year's budget. And if they're gonna order 2, even if there's potential that it's gonna be a couple of years before they get them, then we're budgeting out multiple years in advance, which we're not really supposed to do.
Well, with the push to put something in Chubbuck in the next couple of years, that was the rationale behind ordering that second one, was to help us do that. And so that's why I'm in support of doing that, taking the reserves, kind of like with Ken though, realizing that we probably aren't gonna spend it, so I'll just roll over to reserves again.
Or to the budget the next year
Right.
and not use the budget. So we're just using the reserves to actually put it into the line item of ordering it, but if you do it that way, but that's management, that's not really budgeting.
Well,
Even though we're talking two different systems.
I do have to bring up the fact that for the last 2 to 3 years, they have come to ask for a lot of budget reallocations within capital. So if you do budget the 2 ambulances, it might be worth saying, if these are specifically for ambulances, nothing else. Because it has, I mean, my budget book, their page is blown up for the last couple of years.
That's exactly where I was gonna go. If we decided to do this, strict. I mean, that money is strictly for ambulances. They can't come in and say, well, we got this in capital, so we wanna move it here.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
they've been in the last month a couple of times and we've made them adjustments and
Yeah.
we can't spend that money on anything else.
Yeah, no, I'm completely fine with that.
And I do like the premise that if whatever comes up, they can cancel at any time, because somebody else will pick up that ambulance. So we're not, if something happens, one way or the other, we could actually cancel that order, which would then basically unobligate them reserves. If we cancel that order. But that, here again, we don't know what's gonna happen in the next year. We don't even know what's gonna happen in the next 3 months. So, but this year's, what we have to do is realize this next budget is what we expect to pay. So the reserves would have to be encumbered, or whatever word you want to use, for an ambulance only for that capital outlay. They can't change that unless we come back in and say, well, there went your ambulance can we open up that budget specifically for them? So once it's set, it's set
The only way the county can open the budget is for unanticipated revenues.
for the revenue side.
Yeah, but you cannot, counties cannot open for reserves,
So-
like
Oh.
cities.
Cities
Hopefully-
can do that, yeah.
So I guess that's the real question of it, is if they think there's something else that they may need to change capitals, then they better speak up now, because we can't, if they were obligating the reserves for an ambulance, we can't retrofit something else. I think they have to be aware of that.
Well, and the discussion for Chubbuck is gonna entail a very much larger discussion, because I'm not sure we have enough funds to add one more station.
Correct, we do not.
Well, that's gonna require some other agreements between other entities as well.
Yeah.
So, that's another discussion.
So if we have the funds in reserves, I wouldn't mind go ahead and do the
Okay.
2 ambulances
Okay.
myself. I think that just because of the amount of time that it takes to get them, that
And then are you okay if I put 2 ambulances, no reallocation option behind that?
yes.
For this date. This commission meeting on this date.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
okay, thank you for that.
Anything else?
That's all I had.
I have a couple.
Okay.
Oh, I marked that page twice. So I had Parks and Rec, page 59. That one, we talked about changing on the capital request for the 500,000. We talked about reducing some of the potential fencing. So in the description, we're gonna change, or we're gonna add the word reader boards. Is that okay? I mean, most of these are, I don't think, huge changes. The appraiser budget, which is the next page, we accidentally took out in the clerk's recommendation a retirement payout. That needs to be there. So if we could put 6,000 in that line item, but then a couple of lines down, there's $4,000 for stipends. That was when we were still trying to work through the stipend option. And so that can be zeroed out because we did the 1%. This 6,000 will be covered through reserves because it's a retirement payout. So, if you're good with that one, on,
And the
Miss-
4,000's gone.
yes,
Mhm,
and
4,000
4,000
will
is
be
gone.
gone.
So a net increase of 2,000. On page 65, mosquito abatement. Kyle brought to my attention on the vehicle repairs and maintenance. We meant to reduce that to $8,000. We put 800. So if we could move that up to 8,000. And we had cut that department. So I don't see any other options as where we could take that $7,200 difference. So we'll have to fund that through reserves unless there's somewhere the board would like to start looking for cuts for all of these ads that we're making. And the last,
Reserves.
It'll be fine with reserves.
the last change is the next page in PILT. We had talked last week during the recap, or the clerk's recommendation, about changing the $200 parking lot resurface, making that $500 and relabeling that to a new parking lot for that north off of Venture Way. Is that okay?
And that's 200,000.
Change the 200 to 500. Because I don't think you can do that new gravel parking lot for 200. Didn't you guys say 500? That was a note I
Well,
had.
wasn't there some budgeted for that in this year? Was we gonna do part of that work in this year's budget?
There should be some of that left, because we had.
I think there
we
was
did budget
250.
$500,000.
There is some money left this year, but it is almost August. I'm not sure time frame of who or how that could get done this year. It wouldn't hurt to budget all 500 and not need it. But if we don't budget,
rather do.
We gotta do it right.
and I'm afraid if we rely on this year's money, because the other thing that's not in next year's budget is the roller, or the roll-off trailer. Roll-off truck, sorry. The roll-off truck that they wrecked that hasn't been replaced yet.
So what you're saying is, if we get the chance to use some of the 250 this year, you want to budget 500 for next year for the same project, or
Yes.
for that area?
Yes,
I'm okay with that.
and that roll-off probably needs addressed unless they're just gonna keep using landfills.
Well, can we use some of that money for the parking lot that we're not going to, for that roll-off?
Yes, this year?
Yeah.
Yes, we would just need to reallocate it, but yes, we could. Last I knew Buddy was looking for one. I don't know that he's found another one yet. Maybe that's the holdup.
I would say let's try and get that done.
I would think so.
I'd still put the 500,000 in there.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, let's
But then we
use-
got both, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. The only other change I have that I would like to make to this budget is, Todd and his department restructure. I just want to clean that up. If the board's good with that, bottom line shouldn't change.
yeah.
Because I did build in, an allocation line for the amount. This is just gonna clean it up, take it out of the allocation line and put it in the employee lines, so that it's just more transparent.
So have they got those positions all settled in yet, or is that still in flux?
I believe they're done. We just maybe haven't seen the SAR approval forms yet.
Yeah, because we did that based on, we
Yeah.
didn't know exactly what it is. But
Exactly.
the dollar amount's not gonna change, you're just going to allocate it by position?
Yes.
Okay, I'm good with that.
We had one position, Todd's position was replaced. I can't remember if that was done before the clerk's recommendation, but the third unit supervisor was just designated. It just didn't make the cutoff between clerks and commission proposed. So I
Okay.
could,
I'm good with that, because the dollar's not gonna change, it's just more description on the lines.
much more transparent. And it'll look much cleaner as we're actually operating in the budget next year.
Works for me.
That brought up another one that I thought about or looked at, emergency services.
Yeah.
Currently, that's at 66.
That is a minimum, or that's a step one.
Okay. And we're rehiring in that position. Or that's what I wanted to know is, where do we want to put that wage? Since we're rehiring at this time.
So that is set at, I think it's a grade, hang on, I gotta do my cheat sheet. I can't remember what grade it's at, but it's a step one, whatever the grade is, that last year, I believe, we moved that position up a grade,
I think so.
didn't we?
Well,
thought we did
if we're gonna adjust it, now's the time to look at it.
But I just, as I was looking at that, we're given a $3,000 increase. And I just, where do we want to hire this position at? I thought that should be part of the discussion.
That is a step increase.
So is that where the market's gonna be for that hire? don't know. I have no idea.
I have no idea.
Maybe Matthew's gonna have to help us with that one. And maybe that-
But I think we ought to look at that and see.
Currently, it might be budgeted a little bit high, but if you want to keep it at a grade 15, step one, that's what this position could go back to, is what the department request was.
What's that number?
66,956.
I'm comfortable with that number.
I mean, we had decent applicants with that amount.
We did. So that's what I'm
So-
saying. I'm comfortable with that number.
But the positive is,
You get
Ernie,
what
you
you
just found some savings, about $3,000.
Hey, that's why we're here.
Let's see, where
Plus
can we move
benefits.
it?
But, yeah, when I just gone through it,
Yeah.
I just.
Yeah, if you're good with a 15, and again, that did happen after the clerk's recommendations, so we might as well put, well, I don't know, do you want it to get a step increase? Because if that position is replaced before September 30, that position would be eligible for a step increase, the way we do step increases with the county. No? Okay,
Let's just bring him in where we're at.
okay.
Like I say, we had good results in trying to recruit before. I think that,
Well, thank you for finding a couple $1,000.
hey,
Anything else that you want to address? Do you want me to answer any questions? Do you want us to look at anything?
I looked through it quite a bit last week, and, I mean, I didn't go line by line through everybody, but hopefully the department managers and elect will be able to, if they might see something. Have we heard anything back from them? Any of them coming tomorrow? All of them coming tomorrow, or?
I have not heard from anybody. The only ones, like I said, that I had talked to was Kyle and Anita. I can reach out to Teresa when I get back downstairs, but I don't believe we should have any issues there. I did let her know that at this point, we had not given that custodian position to full-time, but they really didn't get much for cuts. So I can't imagine that they're not gonna be happy.
that's what evaluating everything, what the requests were. They didn't get turned down on much.
And most departments really didn't. The only ones I thought might were the people that requested positions that didn't get them. And I've not heard back, from the landfill. That one could potentially come in. So we could gauge it and meet tomorrow just in case, and if nobody calls, then maybe we can update you on bottom line and funding.
So my one question I have, so where are we at on priority now, on our capital purchases? You know, we talked about remodeling over here. We have talked about, as far as Downey, going with the 200 plus the PILT. And as far as our parking lot up there, we've gone to 500,000. We have the new surface for the soccer field and the new skin for the indoor arena. Is that our priorities then, for most of our capital? Did anybody ask for?
That's it.
We really did not cut very much in capital.
No, I think we did a good job. And what about landfill? Are we okay with everything there?
They,
Is the posse gonna come out of this year's budget if they can get it? Because we talked about
no,
that.
wait,
I don't remember that.
I can't remember, that's why.
The Posy Shell?
The posse
no,
show.
the posse is this year.
It's this
Okay,
year.
I think we-
It's this year.
we
I
got this
think
year.
the only thing that I think they might have been waiting on was, we were gonna piggyback off of another county, and I'm not sure if that process has
Okay.
been completed yet.
That's right. They were
They-
looking for that. I remember
Okay.
Dale
Yeah.
mentioning that.
So those are our.
And that's this year's budget, so they better get that done.
And then we did roll over the possible coroner's building. It's in there, so I think we're doing what we can. But I just wanted to make sure we reinforce that thought process on our priorities. And until we really get the architectural and engineering, we really don't know what the total dollar amount's gonna be. I doubt you'll do that in 1 year, to tell you the truth, even though we did budget it.
Well, there's a lot to that project.
Yeah, there is, and I can't imagine us getting that done in 1 year. So if we don't have that, we can roll that to the second year on something like that, but.
All I know is we have an amazing individual that went down there to McCammon and
Got that done.
put the walls in He does a lot of things that
Yeah.
is almost impossible.
And they moved in Saturday. I haven't heard, I asked Dan, I said, you heard? He goes, no, I haven't heard any more. I don't know. So
Well, he was happy he didn't have to work on Saturday,
Yeah,
so.
so I just want to make sure we're all on the same page on our capital outlay. You know, what our overall plan is. It can shift, it can change. I think adding that other ambulance in there off that, I think, tightens up that, at least our forward-thinking plan. So I'm okay with that, so. Sounds good to me.
Okay.
So tomorrow, pending hear anything from departments, do you just want us to report back bottom line?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll just give you a bottom total and then,
So is our coroner coming in our regular business
Yes.
meeting?
yes, he's coming because of the department overage.
Okay, and so that we'll have, hopefully we can have that discussion. If there is something different between the 110,000 or whatever it is, we can change that.
Okay.
That's the only thing I can think of.
Do we, the only other thing we haven't really chatted about, it's kind of gone under the bridge a little bit, and I wonder if we want to talk about it tomorrow during budget, is we had looked at some options for building a coroner's building and looked at that land, and we had a preliminary discussion about where things might happen, and Dan and I went and looked at that property. Do we want to talk about that more, or let it go by the wayside? I do have a little bit of information that I could share, but it would need to be in an executive session.
Tomorrow's budget is only set for executive for personnel, so we would need to change the
Title.
subsection.
We could just do that on Thursday, because we probably should talk about it before we get too far down the sealing up the budget.
I was thinking about it 2:00 this morning.
I won't be here Thursday, but if needed, I could call in. But
Okay.
depends on what's on the agenda, how serious I want to get about calling in.
Right now, there's not much on the agenda.
Yeah, I was gonna
so-
say, but if it's a matter, but we did have that discussion when you weren't here about some of our, if we do have our own ground, what could we do with that? Which I'm still concerned in talking with, even our horse barns up there, from what I understand, some of them horse barns were moved there from where the old Costco is. They're ready to be. So I think overall, I've talked with Dan about that and say, if those horse barns are actually terrible, but they could be done with, make revenue off of them, we need a forward-thinking plan on that. So Dan was just saying some of those horse barns up there are not any better than the ones in Downey. But that's, and so there is ground up there. In talking with the guy, they said, well, we could actually make more revenue if we had good barns, but then you're weighing that, the cost revenue side. But if there is property up around that area that we could actually designate for a corner spot, I think that could be a further discussion. Whether we worry about that in the budget, I don't know what our timing is, but it's budgeted for a building. We just don't know necessarily where. But I agree with Commissioner Moser that I'm reluctant to buy a whole lot of new property if there's something that we already have that would work. So that could be another discussion. I don't know.
Well, we had tort claims because we, water coming on in certain spots. It could be a heck of a coroner's office.
Yeah. So I don't know.
There's a doctor's office across the street from it.
Okay.
I don't know if that answered your question, Jason, on.
It's just whether or not you want to talk about it, I don't really care.
I think we ought to talk about it a little bit on Thursday, put it on the agenda.
Okay.
Okay. Are we good?
And so so next week, my understanding is we're finalizing it and getting it ready for publication, right?
Yes, well,
Yep.
and actually, if nobody calls us today, tomorrow morning we'll report back and have a bottom line. I'll get you a new funding page in anticipation. If people start calling, I won't do that. But we might be able to wrap it up tomorrow.
Okay.
Get it ready for.
It would be great to get that, because,
Awesome.
yeah. So,
Might hurt my feelings.
anyway. And thanks again, Caitlin, everyone. I appreciate everybody's willingness to look into all of this and help all along the way.